September 9th, 2024, Goffstown Select Board meeting. Why don't you please all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Normally, the next thing would be the acceptance of minutes, but they weren't put up until late this afternoon, so we'll carry those over to the next meeting. And we're going to have a proclamation tonight, and it's Town of Goffstown. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government and a republic dedicated to the rule by law. And whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And now, therefore, we, the Select Board, Town of Goffstown, County of Hillsborough, State of New Hampshire, by virtue of the authority vested in us, do hereby proclaim that September 17th through September 23rd, 2024 be designated as U.S. Constitution Week throughout the Town of Goffstown, New Hampshire, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals and the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting freedoms guaranteed to us through these guardian of our liberties. Given under our hand and seal the 9th day of September in the year of our Lord, 2024. And it is signed by our Select Board members. And Ginny, did you want to say something?
Yeah. We're asking, came to you as members of the Goffstown, the New Boston Daughters of the American Revolution, and we feel that it's important to reaffirm what the Constitution means to people, and we'll be doing things in school, and the Goffstown Public Library has also offered to give us space to have materials out and or to celebrate Constitution Week. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's for the, and that's, DRA is the one sponsoring this, right?
Yes,
Daughters of the American
Daughters of the
Revolution.
American Revolution. And the New Boston chapter was started in 1813 in New Boston. And my ancestors and mother, great-grandmother, great-aunts.
We'll give that to you if you guys want to frame it. Put it
Thank you.
someplace. It's yours.
And we cover New Boston, Goffstown, Ware, Dunbarton, so ladies can come and join us and celebrate the United States of America.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for coming in and bringing it to our attention to make sure we got our names out there, so.
Okay, and this is lovely, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next up are the announcements. And it's a reminder, Tuesday, September 10th, tomorrow, is New Hampshire State Primary. The polls at the Goffstown High School and Bartlett Elementary School will be open at 7 a.m. and closed at 7 p.m. The town's website has a lot of information about the voting. Sample ballots, both Democratic and Republican information, proof of voter ID instructions. Any questions? Go to www.goffstownnh.gov and click on election icon and you can get your information. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to Town Administrator's Report. Derek?
Thank you. At your next page, you have your meeting schedule for the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., the Sewer Commission will be in this meeting room. Wednesday at 9 a.m., Highway Safety Committee will be at the Police Department.
Yep.
5:30 p.m., the Village Pedestrian Bridge Ad Hoc will meet at the Parks and Rec Building.
Yes, sir.
6 PM, Budget Committee will do a facility tour of DPW.
Yep.
On Thursday, Planning Board will be meeting in this room at 7 PM, and that's also the presentation of the CIP matrix.
Yes, sir.
Next week, on Tuesday at 6 PM, Budget Committee has facility tours of Goffstown High School.
Yep.
On Wednesday at 6:30 PM, the Library Board of Trustees will be meeting at the Public Library. I believe that's the chairman.
Will you be there?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Great. And Thursday, 6 PM, Budget Committee facility tours of Parks and Rec, beginning at Barnard Park.
I will be there.
Thank you.
And is the Parks and Rec meeting? I don't see that.
I will confirm with Catherine. It was not on
Okay.
the calendar, but it probably should be.
And Jim, I know you're working the polls tomorrow. If you need me to cover sewer, let me know.
I can't work the polls.
Oh, that's right, you can't do it, so, yeah, neither one of us can.
Unfortunately.
So you're good.
Darn it.
Your next page, you have your consent agenda. You have employee status reports for a full-time firefighter, pay differential for completion of AEMT. There's actually 2 of those. You have a per diem paramedic, new hire, a per diem EMT. This is a wage adjustment. The individual achieved independent provider status. You have a full-time police officer with a promotion to police sergeant. You have a full-time police dispatcher resignation. Full-time police records clerk, successful completion of probationary period. You have 2 per diem crossing guards being moved to the new matrix that was approved by the board. You have a per diem crossing guard resignation. A resignation of a seasonal DPW laborer and a resignation of a seasonal DPW intern. You have cemetery deeds, rights to inter, these are corrective. Shirley Hill Cemetery, Section 3, Lot 91, and West Lawn Expansion, Section W1, Lot 9A. Again, both of those are corrective deeds. You have an event permit for St. Anselm College football games this fall. And you have an event permit for the Uncanunic Mountaineers Snowmobile and Mini Bike Show and Swap Meet on October 26th.
I have one question that I could probably ask the police chief, or maybe you know. When I was going through the event permits, St. Anselm's College said they don't sell alcohol, but they allow alcohol. Is that a BYOB? All right, so that's the answer. That's it. I just noticed that they're not selling alcohol, but it's okay to have alcohol, so it's a BYOB. All right.
A question, just a quick question. What is the independent provider status for the,
So that's when they get their EMTB card or EMTA
Okay.
card, when
So
they
it's
actually
the
get
formal-
their licensure that they.
Okay,
they
thank
do.
you.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
second?
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jim. Any further discussions, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
At your next page, page 4, you have a memo from the fire chief. This is for an ALS, Advanced Life Support Intercept Agreement with the town of New Boston. The town of New Boston reached out, the last ALS Intercept Agreement was signed in 2014, and they're looking to update their agreements with area departments. This is again to provide ALS support on ambulance calls. There are times where New Boston or potentially Goffstown may not have a provider that can provide that service, so we can trade them off and have a paramedic jump onto one of the ambulances.
Any questions?
For a motion to authorize the select board chairman and fire chief to enter into and sign the new Boston, New Hampshire Fire Department Advanced Life Support Intercept Agreement.
Second?
Motion by Mark, seconded by Carlos. Any questions?
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Derek, I didn't see any changes on the contract. It's the same standard.
It's pretty much the same form. The one thing that they did is the service provider intercept fee was not defined in the 2014 version, so it's
They put
clearly
that in.
defined that it's a $500
$500.
Right.
intercept fee.
Thank you.
And is that fee billed to the insurance, if it's insurance?
Yeah, so it'll all be, it's all billed to the insurance, and then they're just making sure if you have the paramedic jump on board, that they get that intercept fee, or at least that town does.
Okay, we had a motion by Marcus, seconded by Collis. Any further questions or discussions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining? Motion passes.
At page 7, this is a carry forward from the August 26th meeting. You have bid specs for the fire station drainage improvements and paving project. Again, this is for Fire Station 2, the old Fire Station 19 in Pinardville. This spec was reviewed. I reviewed it to make sure the dates and everything lined up properly, and then Adam Jacobs at DPW provided his feedback to the fire chief as well.
Now, the bids, all the questions, any questions pertaining to the bids need to go to Adam Jacobs, though,
Yes, because, yes.
because he's
yep.
knowledgeable and...
Yeah, and he worked it out with the fire chief on that.
The other question I had, I know the chief mentioned something about the reinforced pavement that he wanted to include in this project, but I didn't see it listed anywhere as either like a request for that to be included in the, for the difference of what that cost is for that pavement. Really, the only reason I'm mentioning it is to justify why the cost for paving would be so much more. You know what I mean? It doesn't
No, it makes
mention it
sense.
anywhere.
Yeah, he had, when he had met with you on the 26th, he had talked
Right.
about the stronger pavement.
Because
And
of the
at
size of the
At the
truck.
budget committee tour as well, so I just want to make sure if we're reviewing bids. that
I can
that-
have, I can have him make sure that is, and I'm not sure if on page 8, which is page 2, it talks about that there is a binder of 2.5 inches, but then top pave of certain
HMA, get 9.5 millimeters.
And I believe that is the stronger one, but I can have him
Okay,
make
I
sure
just
to
want to make
confirm
sure it's
that.
in there. Thank you.
Again, we had a Mark and then Collis, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
At page 17, you have an application for, actually page 16, I'm sorry, has a cover sheet. You have the application from Department of Public Works. This is the grant application for the New Hampshire Used Oil Collection Assistance Grant Program. So they are seeking authorization to submit the grant to the state of New Hampshire, and then as a separate motion, to authorize DPW Director Adam Jacobs to enter into any of the grant agreement paperwork that's necessary.
Question.
Go for it.
So, I read the grant, I understand the grant. Will that also improve or take away what's currently in place now for the people that are coming to town dumping the oil? And we now take the oil from there, bring it to our DPW building to use it as heat. Will we still be using that or not using that?
I don't understand the question, sorry.
That's all right. I mean,
No.
the
So-
oil- The oil that we get now,
Yes,
okay, is that on a grant or is that not on?
yes, this is a traditional grant that we apply for every year, that they are able to get a portion of the cost back to set up that collection station. They get a portion reimbursed by the state.
Yep.
Better than people dumping it on the side of the road.
Or down the drains?
Yeah. So,
So I'll make a motion to accept the used oil collection grant funds and to enter into grant contracts with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services.
second.
And then a further motion to authorize DPW Director Adam Jacobs to enter into a grant agreement for use, I'm sorry, do we need to take discussion on the first motion? We're gonna split them up, I assume.
Right, we're gonna do one by one. I'm sorry. You made the motion, Collis. Who
Yep.
seconded it?
I
Mark?
did.
Oh, Jim. Is there any further questions on that one? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
And a second motion to authorize DPW Director Adam Jacobs to enter into a grant agreement for used oil collection grant funds collection project on behalf of the town of Goffstown with the state of New Hampshire and any of its agencies and departments, and to further authorize DPW Director Adam Jacobs to execute any documents which may, in his judgment, be desirable or necessary to effect the purpose of this vote.
Second.
Motion by Collis, seconded by Jim. Can you read that again, Collis? Just kidding.
Sure.
Any questions on that second motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Thank you. At page 23 of your packet, just looking for some
We
guidance.
have, how about page 15?
Did I miss an item?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
okay.
So dispatchers, renewal of lease. We have 4 area agreements with New Boston Police and Fire, Ware Police, and Dunbarton Police for dispatching services that are all going to expire at the end of this year. I've provided the board with what we are currently receiving annually from each of these agencies. With a change at town meeting, all the dispatch fees go into the dispatch revolving fund. And then any IT pass-through will go to the general fund. So we're just seeking authorization for the police chief and town administrator to enter into renegotiations with these agencies and to bring forward new agreements for the board to consider.
I'll make the motion to authorize the police chief and town administrator to negotiate the new dispatch lease agreements with existing agencies.
Second.
You second it?
Yep.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes.
Thank you for catching that. So now we're on page 23. This is the fall meeting schedule. Normally, the board meets the second and fourth Monday of each month. However, on Monday, October 14th, which is the second Monday, that is Columbus Day. And then on Monday, November 11th, that's again the second Monday of the month, is Veterans Day. Both of those are scheduled holiday closings. I provided the board with a proposed fall schedule that would shift our dates a little bit. And didn't know if the board was in favor of this. That way we can put them up on the calendar and department heads can be aware of them in case they need to come in for any requests.
So the ones we're moving we're moving one up to propose the first, right? That's a move up,
Yes, you would move the Columbus Day meeting to the 7th.
okay?
We would have an additional meeting on October 21st. That would be for the purpose of budget, to start hearing budgets. You would have your regular meeting on the 28th. And then because of the general election on November 5th, we would skip the 4th and the 11th and then move on to November 18th. So you'd only have one meeting in November. And then you'd finish out the year with 2 in December, and then getting back to it in early January.
That's good.
Derek, do you anticipate that impacting the November for any budget presentations, initial budget presentations?
I don't think so. I think the nice thing is if we do get into that situation, November 25th is still available, or we could also do the, November 4th. But with the general election being the next day, we would try and avoid a long meeting that night.
Anybody got any problems?
No.
Jim?
Fine by me.
No, that's good. I'm gonna be away, I think, the last couple of weeks of November, so if you
Okay.
move it up, that's better.
Okay. Good.
Do you want a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
To
Go
approve
ahead.
it, that'd be great.
I'll make a motion to amend the remaining 2024 select board meetings as presented.
We're approving the amended meeting schedule. Okay.
Second.
Mark, motion by Kelly, seconded by Mark. Any further questions or discussions? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Just real quick, Derek, I know it's not very good. Where are the negotiation meetings on these? Remember, I'd like to do them on the,
So our next negotiation meeting for the fire CBA is, right now it's scheduled for September 16th, that Monday. We're meeting with the union, and we do not have any meetings scheduled beyond that. I think that was one of the topics
Yeah,
for
right.
discussion at our next
Okay.
meeting.
okay, next?
I think that's it for town administrator's report.
Old business?
New business.
New business after, I'll just do new business after that. Derek, I had asked about getting this Tower Lane on here. Have we got any information on that yet?
I haven't had a chance to meet with Joanne, just with us being in and out of the office last week, so I will get an update from her, and I can put that on the action matrix for the next meeting.
And then, I don't know, in it's kind of the same vein, we had a problem with, somebody was complaining about getting the permits done over on Mash Road on a business. I don't know if you saw that over the weekend.
Scott Gross brought it to my attention today. There was a comment on Facebook about review of DMV applications. I know we had an issue in 2023. The state was sending the local approval form to the email address of our old code enforcement officer who had left employment. So we have worked with the state to send it to the correct email address, and then the one that was approved last week, I think it got sent in to DMV with a couple of box miss not checked off, and then we corrected that on Thursday of last week. There was a delay in both of those instances, so I'm working with the planning department to ensure that doesn't happen in the future.
And did we relay the information to the owner that we're working on it, or?
Yeah, I talked to him on Thursday. He
Okay.
came in, and then I called him after Jack had sent it back up to DMV to let him know that we had sent in the corrected form on Thursday.
And I know they're targeting a certain person on it, so, which was you.
Derek, what about the river waterway?
What's that?
The river waterway?
The River Advisory
Advisory
Committee.
Committee.
Now that we're past Labor Day, I have all the preferred meeting nights of all the members that have responded. So I'll have to look at the calendar and get an initial meeting scheduled.
Excellent, thank
Yep.
you.
We've got definitely got some equipment out of it.
A little bit, huh?
There's nobody here to talk about them, so. Now we have new business.
I just want to ask about the ambulance. Did we hear if the frame was bent or not?
No, it sounds like the frame was checked out and that it was fine.
Okay.
They anticipate the repair will take 4 to 5 weeks. The loaner ambulance had some engine issues, so that was returned to the loaner company.
Blown head gasket.
Yeah.
Right
that
away?
white one?
They just got it.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yep,
Okay.
so the chief was hopeful that all the repairs would be done in 4 to 5 weeks. So with the 2 existing ambulances, he's gonna run on those until we get the repaired one back.
And rely on some backup from Manchester. or-
Yeah, and working with our mutual aid partners.
Right.
Yep.
Anything else? New business?
New business. So I'm going to address the complaint that we all received against Selectman Georgiantis.
I should step
So
down for
per
that.
our,
Yeah.
yep, per our, the RSA, this will be discussed by the select board in public, and then I'm asking the chair to step down and go on the other side of the table. Thank you.
I do get a chance to respond, right?
Yes, you will get a chance to
If I
respond.
need to.
So I'm gonna read the complaint, and then I was able, Derek provided me with some, the 91A remedies themselves, and then I have some responses and general thoughts about it.
So
and
each of the
then-
board members, I had shared it electronically, but I do have printed copies for you this evening.
That's helpful, thank you.
You can pass one down to Jim as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the remedies that I'm gonna address are my suggestion to serve as the response on behalf of the select board pertaining to each of these specific items. As you all know, there were many, so I'm gonna go ahead and read it in for the record. So the complaint, Derek, what date was the complaint issued?
It was received on August 30th.
Thank you. So on August 30th, this complaint was received, and it says, "To the Select Board, this is a formal complaint against Selectman Board Chairman Peter Georgiantis. On August 13th, 2024, the town received the results of the RTK, or Right to Know, Ombudsman Order in regard to the Goffstown Public Library. These results were sent out to the Select Board. Peter Georgiantis replied and asked if this decision was releasable. The town administrator replied with a yes. The decision is a public document. Later, on the evening of August 13, 2024, Peter Georgantis put up the attached post on social media. The action and content of the post are in violation of Goffstown's Code of Conduct. So specifically in that violation, individuals do not speak on behalf of boards, committees, or commissions unless authorized. No member of the board, committee, or commission shall speak on behalf of his or her respective board, committee, or commissions unless authorized to do so by his or her respective board, committee, or commission. This is not suggested that the individual members cannot speak publicly, but rather to emphasize that he or she should clearly state their intentions, speaking only on their individual behalf and not representing themselves as speaking for the committee or commissions. No official shall use town letterhead or stationery for any purpose other than for official town business. Members of boards, committees, and commissions may only use town letterhead for the purposes approved by their respective boards, committees, or commissions. So the specific thing that was stated was in Peter's statement regarding the Right to Know Ombudsman decision to the Goffstown Public Library. He made one statement that said, as chair of the select board. So in response to that, the Code of Conduct and the procedures of the Goffstown Select Board don't explicitly prohibit members from speaking publicly. Goffstown officials shall not speak on behalf of their respective boards, committees, or commissions. I just read that whole portion. And when Peter mentioned the use of as chairman of the select board, it muddies the waters as to whether he's speaking as an individual or on behalf of the select board. The elected board, the select board, has no disciplinary authority over the actions of the individual members, but my recommendation is that we remind Chairman Georgantis and all members that we should be clear about when we comment that we're representing the town or a personal viewpoint. So, that was a...
Do you want me to respond as we go along?
Yeah, you can respond to that one individually.
My feeling on that is the chair, whether you're vice chair or chair, town administrator, or whatever you are, okay? That's a title. And it's no different than if you're a state rep and you say, I'm a state rep. You're not necessarily speaking as somebody representing your people. The same thing with, a good example would be Governor Sununu, who's on TV as the governor of New Hampshire and says he's not supporting Trump. Well, he's not speaking for me or all of us, right? So a chairman is a title. And when I said it, I didn't say I represented anybody. It never says that anywhere. It doesn't say, as the chairman, I'm representing the board. It doesn't say that. So I understand what you said, and it's not a bad suggestion. I should have said, as chairman of the board, I'm speaking for myself. Mm-hmm. But go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead next.
Does anyone have any questions for Pete? No? Okay. So the second, do you have something?
Well, and I'm just curious about the procedure here. We're gonna go through this and we're gonna vote or something, or what are we gonna do?
Yes, we can vote to take action or not to take action. What I read at the end of the fact that as a board, we don't have disciplinary authority over actions, but made the, public reminder, not only to Peter, but to all of us, that we try to use those words when appropriate, speaking as an individual. So that's my recommendation, that we not take action, but make that statement as a board. If anyone disagrees with that, they can say it if they'd like.
Okay, so, all right, so at this point, we're just going through the complaint and Peter can respond, and then we're gonna talk about it if we wanna talk about it now.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
So that was part one. So part two was specifically noting misuse of confidential information. No official shall intentionally disclose or misuse for personal gain, confidential or privileged information, or other information learned by virtue of official positions as defined in RSA 41:1-A, or information obtained by this in session pursuant to RSA 91-A:2, 1, or B or C, or non-meetings. And RSA 91-A, up to, so the complaint stated that Peter Georgantis received this information through his position on the select board. Instead of a public release, he used his personal social media account to post the information in an attempt to adversely affect the reputation of 2 Goffstown residents who are also running for the same state representative seat as Peter Georgantis in the upcoming primary. And, I mean, I would say the right to know ombudsman in August, the order in regards to the Goffstown Public Library was not confidential or privileged information, rather it was an order by a governmental agency subject to disclosure under New Hampshire RSA 91A, and is very much a public document. Furthermore, RSA 42:1-A does not apply in this situation because the right to know ombudsman order was not confidential, privileged, or private information. That's my personal opinion that the board can choose to take or not.
Well, the part where they say I'm using it as a political tool, that was coincidence, because we had been waiting for those results for a couple of months. So, and they happened to come out during this time, so it was not an intentional thing to use as a political attack on anybody. It was, as you can all remember, I went way back in March, I was talking about the attack that was done on our library director, and we have been waiting for that result to come through. And my response to my releasing of that information was to substantiate our claims that we had back in March that our library director did nothing wrong. It had nothing to do with an election. And it's just coincidence that when the results came out.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Number 3, so the third point was when Peter Georgantis made his post, he knew that not only would it adversely affect the reputation of 2 Goffstown residents, but also attempt to garner votes for himself against these residents. On March 5th, 2024, Peter called out the same 2 residents in order to discredit them in local elections. His repeated attempts to try to influence elections as a town and select board representative is evident. Also demanding that these two residents reimburse the town and publicly apologize for a completely legal process, which intimidates any other residents that may need to use this process in the future, knowing that if a ruling in favor of the town happens, they will be lambasted on social media by elected town officials. And to specifically note, undue influence, he stated, no official shall engage in business transactions or have a financial or personal interest directly or indirectly on behalf of a family member, abutter, employer, client, or on behalf of any other person for whom the official could not maintain a juror standard, which is in conflict or with, or incompatible with the proper discharge of his or her official duties, or would tend to influence or impair his or her judgment and action in the performance of his or her official duties. So, again, noting the violation of the code of conduct. So my response to that is the code of conduct is Article 2, Section 1 prohibits Goffstown officials as defined by the code of conduct from applying undue influence, with the focus on undue influence being business and financial transactions and or influence on public servants from performing their official duties. So I don't think that there's evidence in this case that Chairman Georgantis' statements applied undue influence on business or financial transactions or undue influence on public servants from performing their official duties. Go ahead.
I don't want to open a can of worms here, but
Go ahead.
this is the hearing on the complaint, right?
We do not, you don't have a defined hearing procedure.
Okay, I'm just having a little trouble with what we're doing here. And was Mr. Carey invited?
So the code of conduct says that a copy shall be provided to the board, the elected board, as well as the government official being, that the complaint is made
Yeah,
against.
yeah.
And that the public body shall investigate. It does not say, it does not provide that a hearing will be held. It just says that the appropriate board will investigate the nature of the complaint.
Okay, I don't have a copy with me.
What do you need, Jim? A copy of the complaint?
No, the code, I was
Oh,
just
I've
saying.
got code of
No,
conduct.
I'll take your word for that, I know. You got extra ones there?
Yeah, I brought extras, if you could just.
I just want to make sure that we're following the due process here.
Yeah, so when a complaint is submitted, it's the reporting process. So review, so on page 7
Thank you.
of the code of conduct, the review of complaint by appointing authority. So the first item is the town official, board member, or employee against whom a written complaint is filed shall be given a copy of the complaint. Properly submitted complaints shall be reported to the respondent's appointing authority, so for the member of an elected body, the elected board on which the member serves, and then there's a note, an elected body has no disciplinary authority over the actions of its individual members. And then at the bottom it says that the appointing authority shall investigate alleged violations and act as appropriate within the procedures established within state statute, and the code of conduct. It also refers to the personnel policy and CBAs, but those would not apply here.
Okay, thank you.
Jim, do you have any questions on that? So my thought afterwards was that we would vote on if we wanted to take action or not, and then if, you know, this has happened publicly, so I wanted to make sure I was providing some sort of public opinion based on this, and ask all of you, you know, individually if you had input on any of that. Because there's no disciplinary recourse for any of these things, really, we have to address it and talk about them, and then how they pertain to our code of conduct that's current.
That's good, that's a violation. Yeah, I guess, it's I've always thought this is kind of murky, but at least here, this is the investigating part, that's what we're doing, we're investigating.
Or deciding if we want to investigate on something further.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose we could, you know, pull one thing individually or the whole thing if there was something that you wanted to look into more.
No, I think it's pretty clear what happened. My feeling is that, you know, well, personally, I think I wish Peter hadn't used as chairman of the board. I think we have to be careful about that. I think Peter knows that. I didn't like it when I first saw it, and I think, you know, I think we should stress that, you know, this is what happens when we do things like this. So that's really the only, if we learn that lesson, then I think I'm okay with it. And if Mr. Carey wants to go to court or something like that, he's welcome to do that. I'm not saying he's got the basis to do that. I'm saying, you know, we can't control that. But that I mean, after hearing all of it, that's my opinion.
And I agree with Jim. I think it's a valuable lesson learned. I think we all need to be very, very careful when we speak, who we're speaking for. And I think that's clear, and I think Peter recognizes that, at least in my opinion.
I think that when we're out in the public, whether it's at the grocery store, the ball field, or whatever, they know you're a selectman. So I don't understand why, and I understand that would have deleted a lot of these questions, but Are you speaking as a selectman when you're out in town or not? I mean, that's what I wanted to make sure that people knew, that I was speaking as a selectman, not for the selectman, but as a selectman. And I think that's important because we're elected people. We're elected to keep an eye on things in town. And as a selectman, even though I was the chair, yep, even as, I'm allowed to speak as that, in that position, as my own feelings.
But what my concern with that is somebody come up to me and say, hey, you know, Peter said that you feel this way and everything, and that's not your intention, but they have the right, I mean,
And they can
Well,
open,
that's-
they can make that assumption.
That's why I made that suggestion of, you could have said, as the chair of the select board, this is my opinion on the situation. I mean, that covers
I don't
all the
disagree.
bases.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's important, I think.
Or,
you
I'm
know.
not speaking on behalf of the board, but, you know, there's multiple ways to state that a little more clearly. Yeah, okay. Mark, do you have anything? There's still 2 more in here,
Okay.
so bear with me, please. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't flip the page yet. Okay. One more.
What page?
Yeah, which one? You want?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on my page where I pulled the complaints and the RSA
Oh.
and the, sorry, I'm looking at my own thing.
I think she's on complaint item number 4.
Yeah, okay. Fair and equal treatment.
yep.
So the complaint states when Peter Georgantis repeatedly used his official title of Chair of the Select Board and Goffstown Select Board member to call out 2 Goffstown residents by name for following an entirely legal process demanding reimbursement and an apology, he was unfairly singling them out for political gain. Peter states that their claims were frivolous allegations. If this had been correct, then pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 91-8:A2, the town attorney fees would have been covered. Furthermore, his statement of the legal fees resulting in significant and unnecessary financial burden on taxpayers is unfounded. Peter mentioned that the cost he posted did not include the cost to the library budget for the right-to-know inquiries that were submitted for record of library card holders, that they were submitted by other residents of Goffstown. Why have they not been called out by name to reimburse the town and apologize? Because there was no political motivation for Peter Georgantis to do so. So that statement specifically was referring to the Fair and Equal Treatment Act, which states to give every person fair and equal treatment. So in response, hold on, Pete, one second. In response to that, I would say it was an individual statement. While he did mention being chair of the select board, he didn't say on behalf of the select board. So again, acting in an official capacity or acting on the behalf of the board, I think Peter stated that he's going to work more to clarify that language, but per that, it doesn't apply in fair and equal treatment by mentioning that title.
Cal,
Go ahead.
my feelings on that is they brought this on themselves when they went on television and in public and said that the library director, I'm Joe Alexander running for library trustee, and I want to guarantee that the library does not violate 91A laws, that they were illegal when they did it. They brought that on, that was not, I didn't accuse them, they accused the library director of doing something, of breaking the law. It was on TV, I can play it for you right now. I mean, it's just, you know, they're the ones that brought this upon themselves. And to say that they're being victimized, they victimized themselves by making a statement that was not collaborated by anyone.
That was reference to statements at candidates night?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just want to be clear.
You know, they brought it on themselves, I didn't make, you know.
Does anyone have any statements, questions, comments?
I guess my only problem with this is I don't know if there's a court appeal can be taken from the Ombudsman's Act, and if I had to do it, I wouldn't have said anything because it may not be a done deal yet. And in my feeling, my training, you know, it's better not to say anything until it's completely 100% done. But to say that that's a violation of any of our, I don't think that's it rises to the level of a violation or anything like that, but I think we have to be careful about these things because you don't know, even, you know, you don't know if there's a further appeal from the ombudsman thing, so it may not be finished yet. And people saying things out in public that can be brought into the hearing is usually not a good idea.
So we don't know whether or not there's statutory relief under the act that pertains to ombudsmans and appeal of their decisions. I think that's...
Right. And, you know,
Isn't that right?
if we know that, that's the end of it and it's all done, that's another thing. But
Yeah.
at least I don't know. And
There is an appeal process for the ombudsman.
Okay, that still doesn't affect that, but the information that we have at this time, we've had 2 times that we've been told that nothing, that the law was not broken. Once by the town attorney when he said it was okay to release that information. And then the second time, when 2 state representatives on state letterhead sent the complaint to the ombudsman, right? And then it came back again that it did not find in their favor. So that's twice that we've had legal opinions that they were wrong. So I mean, how far do you, and I understand what Jim's saying, but I think it's important on this board to protect our department heads by saying they did not do something wrong according to legal opinion, and now the ombudsman, which they brought it to the ombudsman. I mean, you can keep kicking it up, you know, I'm just saying, you know, I think it's our duty to make sure that that information gets out to protect our people. You know, and I understand what you're saying, you just to remain silent and say, well, let's see what happens, but I don't think that's right to remain silent and let our people hang out there. I would do it again to protect our department heads if they did something like that. May say it a little bit different, but I would do the same thing.
I understand what you're saying, but I think the ombudsman said that they were wrong.
Right. It's twice.
Twice.
I just think this is a he said, she said battle, and we've all learned a very valuable lesson here. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Anyone else? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Pete, do you have any?
No, I'm good. I mean, I
Like,
think I explained myself that
Okay.
as an elected official, I should be in having the department heads reporting to us ultimately that it's our job to, if they do something wrong, it's our job to say something. But if they haven't done something wrong and somebody goes public and blaming them for something, I think it's also our job to stick up for them, and we should be doing that as a board, which I think originally we did by going along with the legal opinion we have originally.
So what we need to do per the policy is vote if we're going to take action to either take no action or vote to investigate further.
We don't know if there's any more information coming in, right?
Just based on this, we have to vote
All right.
on the full complaint that you all had read.
I'll make a motion that we take no action at this time.
I would second that, and further elaborate that there's insufficient evidence to justify any other action, or some words to that effect.
So motion by Mark, seconded by Hollis. Any other comments? We still have a perplexed, I see your wheels turning.
Yeah, Collis's comment that we don't have any other information. that makes me nervous that the claimant wasn't invited, at least invited here. He could say no, and he very well might have said no. And I don't want to open a can of worms either, but that just makes me a little bit uneasy about the process, I guess. But I agree with the result.
I mean,
You know.
I said the same thing as Collis said. I mean, I don't think all the information's been presented yet. I think maybe there might still be more to come. We make a decision now, will that lock us into a position that we're currently in, or will we be free to move and make other decisions or statements?
But if we vote to end this, there won't be any more investigation, right? There won't be any more evidence.
Well, we would be voting at this time to take no action.
No action, so.
Furthermore, I hear what you're saying. I think that, though, because this is a member of the select board and it has to be done in public, I think to your point, inviting the person to come, I don't know that we would, I would want to check to make sure that if there's any RSA or anything that, like having a trial, basically. I don't know where the limits are.
I don't want to open it up to 25
And if-
people on each side or anything.
Yeah, and if there are or aren't limits, I personally would just want to have that, us adopt that into the policy itself so that it's, because I have no idea what that would mean, and I just want to make sure that there's no, we've talked further about like an ethics committee or something like that, but any instance with other elected officials would be handled in non-public, is that correct? And employees?
So
Appointed members.
employees do have protection under 91A. Elected members of boards, typically you do not go into non-public to discuss those
Yeah.
matters.
Okay. So that would have to be clarified as well, the distinction, at least if we were to amend the policy. So that's not to say that they couldn't, the complainant couldn't bring forward more information or request to be involved in that process. I think Derek said that he let them know that they would bring it to us to discuss, and then that was the information that was provided to that person. To best of my knowledge, they didn't reply to you.
You've already
Ask
done
them to
that?
come?
When the code of conduct complaint came in, I said that I provided them Article 4, Section C from the code of conduct that talks about that Pete would get a copy of the complaint, and that I would be forwarding it to the select board for investigation under, this is how it's written. And then his only request was to let him know if the board took a vote on it, so that I did say that I would let him know if the board took action or took a vote on it. So I did advise him that I would respond to him that way.
I got a question, and it's probably a procedure question even now or in the future. It's not a trial. You were sent,
I don't think Peter should be part of this discussion here.
That's true, you shouldn't.
No offense.
but it's against me you're talking about.
I
And
know, but-
I would find it unfair to have now I'm speaking for this charge against me, unfair to have a group come in and speak against me. That would be unfair. It's
Are you
not,
saying we're doing
I don't
that?
believe I don't believe that letter was designed to do that.
Okay, no, I'm just saying that as we discuss this, you should, you're.
I understand what you're saying,
That's
John,
all.
but you're saying it could be continued. That,
Oh, you're talking about something else.
that affects me. If you say, well, we can bring the guy in and do this and that, you want to continue it. And I think a decision needs to be made on what was brought to us tonight and in that letter, instead of having somebody come back in with more information and adding to the complaint.
So, back to what I said, was that we would be making a motion to take no action or to investigate further. Those were the options. So, in any instance, we could make a decision and the person involved could come back and request to
Okay,
have it
yeah,
looked at
I'm
again.
good with that.
So that certainly doesn't prohibit anyone from addressing the board again, if they would like to.
Okay.
So there was a motion by Mark, a second by Collis. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain? Okay, motion passes. Pete, you can return.
Okay, we should be going, is there any more new business? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Else, public comment?
I'm sorry, anybody have public comment? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Non-public session, RSA 91A:32 for compensation, and C adversely affects reputation. Anything else, or is that it?
No, that should be it.
Second.
Motion by Mark, seconded by Collis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. That'll conclude tonight's public portion of the selectmen's meeting.